Hello there! What's going on, everybody? We are live, and we've got some interesting things to talk about today. But I'm going to chill for just a minute because it's a live stream, and so I got to give people a chance to join in. So we're going to start shortly because we're going to be talking about FFG. Just dropped some interesting little news. So they're going to be having their in-flight report or the in-flight brief at the normal time. It's going to be, that Thursday night before Gen Con starts, or the 29th, I think they post. It's on fantasyflightgames.com. Not a whole lot of information there. It's going to be at 7 p.m. It's going to be in the evening. It's going to be just like it would have been normal time. So if you're at work during the day, or like 7 p.m., I think Eastern. So it's going to be in the evening in the United States. Hey, everybody that's joining us. We're going to be talking about this FFG Gen Con announcement. And in their announcement, they were talking about, hey, we're going to have all kinds of new product announcements. They talk about some of their games, and for the miniatures, for the Star Wars games, they talk about new product announcements for Legion and Armada. And they did not name X-Wing, which is very interesting. Very interesting. And it kind of factors, because I posted a video earlier today talking about X-Wing. And, with the points being delayed. And so, I feel like there's a whole lot of X-Wing to talk about. Also, make sure you check out, if you're interested in getting some X-Wing tokens, by the way, go to luxuryplaystyle.com, use code Crabbok VIP, save 15%. So you can do that. But anyway, I want to mention them. But yeah, so hey, everybody that's joining us. Hey, we're talking about the Gen Con in-flight report for Fantasy Flight Games, and why they did not mention X-Wing, because there's actually a couple of really interesting things that are going to come out of that. And it's sort of here's the thing. So I work a day job. Also, I don't do YouTube full time, although it might seem like it, because I pretty much go all day long. Like, as soon as my regular job stops, I'm working on this, and somehow making time for family, and a limited, barely existing social life in the meantime, and with everything else. But yeah, so I'll probably be taking some time off of work around Gen time, because there's going to be a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff going around. I think we can agree that Legion is the best FFG Star Wars games. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff we can talk about in this live stream, because we can talk about Legion. What do we think is going to come out of that? I will probably make a full dedicated video to that at some point in July as we get closer. We can talk about Armada. I think we know exactly what's going. Well, I don't know if we know exactly. I think we know at least the first wave of stuff that's getting announced for that. I can't see them dropping starters for a faction and nothing else, right? So I feel like we're going to get some ship expansions. I think there's going to be a little bit of wave thing. Armada is, yes, as for some of the comments, Armada is my favorite game. It is my favorite game, but it's not like the difference isn't. It's not like Armada's up here and everything else is down below. Like, no, there's a lot of games that are close to the top. I have, and I think Armada it's at the top. Legion is very close behind, and for different reasons too. Because like Legion's, I love the terrain aspect for Legion. I love setting up levels for Legion. So like I love the pre-game for Legion more than anything else. And then for board games too, like I've got like some of my favorite games are behind me. Like some of my favorite games make it so like the walls that you'll see behind me. I've got other games off to the sides and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. But like Rebellion, I freaking love Rebellion. All right, like freaking love it. And then Nemesis right here, freaking love that one too. And they were for different player counts. If I got 2 players, I'll play Rebellion. But so like all those games are like they're close. They're like in a top tier bracket, like S tier. But yeah. So all right. So we've got a lot of people in the chat right now. Let's go ahead and actually start the highlight. Let's talk about X-Wing. and then we can come back to it. I'll take some questions too. We do have a lot of people watching, so if you have a question that you want to get, if I miss it or whatever, if you want to help support the channel, the super chat is an option that's going to help support the channel also. So I do thank you guys for that. Also, we do have new merch in the store, so be sure to check out the face masks. We've got t-shirts. There's new stuff coming all the time too, so that's also gonna be cool. But all that stuff helps support the channel, and also a big thanks to patrons. You guys are amazing. And if you want to become a patron, there's links for all that stuff in the description below. All right, so X-Wing. X-Wing got left off of the in-flight brief. Now, they did say, and much, much more, right? I have some predictions about that. I have some predictions about what the much, much more is, and I'm going to talk about that at the end. So let's talk about X-Wing. The points that was supposed to happen this weekend, or I think Monday, they were supposed to do points. There was no points. Points did not come out. It is presumable that at some point in July, there will be a X-Wing specific event that happens. And this X-Wing specific event will detail points, hyperspace stuff, and I don't even know how much. Again, I talked about, I don't want to double back on too much of this morning's video, so you can watch that one if you want to talk more about the points. But in addition to this, whatever time in July they end up doing an X-Wing event, it is also possible that they will then start spoiling some new stuff. We do know from recent leaks that there's a lot of X-Wing stuff in the pipe. I'm talking like at least 7 or 8 expansions that are not even announced yet. That doesn't include the 3 for Wave 7 that we have no spoilers articles for yet, or no dedicated articles for. We only had that one. So there's like, I think like 10 expansions at least for X-Wing that we could get some articles on. So that's kind of cool. But there's been like a holding pattern for X-Wing right now. I said in today's video, I still haven't gotten my CR90 dial, my replacement dial for it yet. So like that's weird. The fact that X-Wing wasn't on in the Gen Con thing is also weird. And so it's like, what is going on? Is there some type of like, you know, IP or brand kind of hold right now? I mean, and if so, we're not going to know about that, right? FFG, like if there is some type of business kind of reason why they're not announcing any new X-Wing stuff, they're not going to make a statement about that, because that's stuff that's behind closed doors kind of stuff. That's not something that we can actually expect an announcement on. At best, there would be like hints, like we'll get to it when we can, you know, things like that. The only thing you're ever gonna know really is just rumors from like insiders, like my buddy told me this and stuff like that. And you know, like I'm hesitant to really talk too much about rumors like that. So and I don't even know any really right now. I just because the last news as far as talking about X-Wing that we really have is that X-Wing is going to be part of that miniatures product line that's going to 2023. That's really, really strong. You know, that was just recently renewed. So there's like a 3-year plan for X-Wing. So, you know, including Legion and Armada. So based off of what we know now, there's basically 2 schools of thought that I'm thinking. One is they're saving all of the X-Wing stuff for a super mega spectacular X-Wing event, right? And hey, that's cool. That's really cool. That's good. That's good for X-Wing fans. That's good for me because that gives me well, actually, it's bad for me. It's good in a way because it gives me like a whole bunch. If they drop like 10 spoilers in one giant, you know, live stream, then I've got a lot of content to break down, analyze, and like start pumping, you know, to you guys. So that could be a little bit too much. So like I can handle like 3 or 4 expansions at a time, and that's kind of on par with my usual kind of rate of workload. But yeah, and thanks. I'm missing a lot of the comments right now. I'm going to try and get to some of them here shortly. But the other thing is that maybe there's a problem and X-Wing is halted. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case because the damage decks just came out, and I haven't seen any around me. I don't know like if any of you guys have seen the damage decks. I'm not sure, but and then there was that solo mode, and then they had the Chrome N1 Starfighter, which they put out, you know, and like so like I don't feel like there's really any evidence to say that X-Wing is dead. I have heard that like it's not doing particularly well, but that could be anecdotal because we've been in COVID, right? So I, you know, like a little part of me wonders because I have so much so many years and years and years of time invested into the hobby and into this YouTube channel that when there's like a slight little thing like, wait, they left X-Wing, there's a little flag in my head that goes, is X-Wing being canceled? You know, and that's why I'm talking to you guys about it, because I don't think so, but I can't dismiss that thought or that fear or whatever, because it's, you know, it was the first game, man. X-Wing pulled me in to tabletop gaming, like, as a whole. It was the first game, so I'm naturally always a little bit you know, curious and worrisome about X-Wing and its future and stuff like that. So when I see things that trouble me, it kind of makes me a little cautious about X-Wing, or a little nervous. So there's certainly that, and you know, and there's so much that they haven't announced yet, and I'm just wondering, you know, like, if you go back to the Adepticon panel when they were talking about, you know, like, they didn't have like the art ready for like the Aces packs that were supposed to be coming out, you know, like, and it just makes me wonder if there was like maybe a hold. And that's another thing too. There was recently an artist that got under, and he had done work for multiple gaming companies, that had gotten under some sexual assault, you know, charges and stuff like that. And so some inappropriate stuff happened. And so it may be that he had done art for upcoming Wave stuff, and since it's not, you know, released yet, that maybe they're scrapping that to go ahead and do it. That's actually a possibility. So so that's the X-Wing stuff. We are also talk about Legion and Armada and the more. One question I saw was, are you going to do a Thanos unboxing and review? And of course. And now that's for Marvel Crisis Protocol, by the way. But any of you guys watching who have not seen anything about Marvel Crisis Protocol, it's a really groovy game. It's super, super cool. I haven't done as much content. I've been doing the unboxings, and I'll build them so you can see, like, you know, the sprue and then how they look assembled. And I've been doing some of that. I've done a little bit, like, I've done a how to play on it. But I don't get a whole lot of games in. It's not really big. Like, right around the time that it could have started to get big here in Orlando, it was when, like, we had done like a learn to play event, and there was a little bit of interest. And then COVID kind of happened, and you know, so like, that one never really took off. I've played it a few times, but it's a little simple. It's not like super complicated, so it's a cool game. I definitely say it's worth checking out. All right, let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to look at see if there's any questions in here. There's quite a few. I'm probably not going to be able to get to all of them. They usually update hyperspace points changes for the to up tournament play, but we didn't get any tournaments. Yeah, maybe they won't up. I've heard that they are going to do some hyperspace stuff, but it might be minor. It might be like things they wanted to try before, but didn't put in yet. Or maybe they won't be. Maybe they'll change it. Rebellion deserves a new expansion. Wow, interesting. I'd love to see more Rebellion. I almost wouldn't mind seeing something a little different though, like maybe. Because it's so good, right? Rebellion is almost perfect, and it's really hard to say. Where do I find X-Wing games near me? Well, probably nowhere for a while. Hold on, what is this question here? What's your bet on ships for an Armada new starter? Okay, so let's talk about Armada now, because again, if you're just joining now, we talked about X-Wing. There's nothing planned right now for X-Wing at the in-flight brief, but there could be a separate X-Wing event. Or maybe X-Wing's in trouble. We don't know. It's probably a separate X-Wing event, and that's kind of the thing, because Armada, right? Armada's having the Clone Wars finally unveiled at their in-flight brief. This is a big deal for Fantasy Flight. I think it's a much bigger deal than some people might think. Now, I think a lot of my viewers, guys, how many of you are Armada players, right? How many Armada fans do we got out here, right? Just get some thumbs ups. Give a thumbs up if you're an Armada player. Because look, I mean, like, I have been personally a champion for Armada for a very long time. There have not been that many content creators for Armada. I have been just trumpeting the freaking horn for Armada, like, from the mountaintops for years. All right, and all right, I see we're getting a couple of likes. So yeah, we got some Armada players here. But the Clone Wars for Armada is a big deal, because I feel like FFG probably looks at Armada saying, oh, it doesn't get that much play. I've seen this happen on multiple conventions that I've gone out for FFG to teach Armada, and there's plenty of people come, but then like last couple of conventions, like there was no table set up for Armada. I'm like, wait, you brought me out here for Armada and you don't have Armada? I'm like, oh well, oh, it's downstairs, it's in the overflow room. I'm like, why is it in the overflow room? It's the most beautiful game you've got. You should have it center stage, but it takes up a lot of room. Okay, so oh, we got a super chat from Bleed Green Productions. What's good, Bleed Green Productions? How you guys doing? Thank you for your support. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. So thank you for that. But yeah, and that's another problem, is having people to play with. Now, if you guys are an Armada players, did you know that on Crabbok.com under custom content, I have an Armada AI expansion? You can download the AI. You can play against the AI system. It's not that hard. It uses cards, and the cards are going to tell you what to activate and where to move it and what to do with it and all that stuff. There's videos. I have even bat reps where I'm playing against the AI system, so you can at least get some practice games in against yourself. So I think that may be one of the reasons why X-Wing didn't have anything announced, and that's because they might not want to overwrite Armada's Clone Wars. Because the Clone Wars is, I think it's going to be kind of like a reboot for Armada. I'm not saying 2.0, but I think from a certain point of view, the cards looked bigger, right? To me, I think they're going with bigger cards. I'm really, really anxious to see what other game changes are going to come, because the fact that we're also not getting anything else, I feel like this is going to be like there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, when Armada Clone Wars comes. And this is going to be a big, like, every year, like, there's always kind of like one thing that's like their main big new thing. Like, one year it was Legion at Gen Con. One year it was X-Wing 2nd Edition, was their flagship title for the whole con. There's one that just kind of stands head and shoulders above everything else. And, it was Armada one year, years and years ago. Then, what was it last year? I think it was Marvel Champions last year. It was Keyforge the one year. So all of those have had really big presences. I think this year, the flagship event is going to be Armada Clone Wars. I really think so. And I don't think because X-Wing and Armada kind of have this overlap of they're both spaceship games, I think, and it's a perfect year for them to do it, because Armada being on a 6x3, granted, they can run it. You can run a demo on a 3x3. You absolutely can, and they should. They absolutely should. They should have demo tables of a 3x3 for Armada, because it is actually a playable format that way. But you don't get the full Armada feel, but that's okay. For demos, they should still do it. But my point is, since this is a virtual con and they don't have to worry about table space, this is the perfect year for them to do a heavy Armada focus. Now, I've reached out to FFG and said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help you guys out, let me know. And I still await to be let know. Either way, I'm still going to be covering it, and I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm going to take time off of my regular job so I can talk about all the new stuff that comes out during all of Gen Con weekends. So expect a little bit more content from me than you normally would get. Okay, so we're talking about Armada. I think that's why the X-Wing will probably have a separate event. It may be before Gen Con. It may be after Gen Con. I think it'll probably be like a week or two before Gen Con. I think somewhere around like the middle of July we'll get an X-Wing event. That's what I think. I think so. Maybe even early. I don't know. All right, so Armada. Clone Wars. All right, well, now we already know 5 things that are set to come out. Or no, I'm sorry, 6 things. Separatist starter, Republic starter. Right, those are their fleet expansions. They're starters, though. Right, on the Asmodee-owned Lion Rampant's distributor site, it says starter. So we got 2 new starters for each fleet. That's awesome. And that's another reason why this is a big deal. One of the main problems with Armada is this $100 buy-in, and that shies people away. Well, I'm guessing, since these are fleet-specific, they'll probably come out at a cheaper price point, so you have a cheaper starter. I would guess around $50. Maybe a $50 starter is awesome. That's great. Maybe you get a medium and a small ship. Or maybe just one ship. Maybe a medium, maybe just one ship or something. I don't know. But yeah, so we got the 2 starters for the 2 new factions. We got the 2 squadron packs, each to go for the 2 new factions. Then we've got the card expansion, which I'm really interested about. I talked about this the other day, why I haven't done any updated Armada what to buy first videos. And then the Dials expansion, which I'm really curious about what is up with the Dials expansion. Why? That's a big question, is why are you doing a Dials expansion? Are you changing the way Armada is going to be going forward to such that we now need to get a Dials expansion? that's a really big question I have. So again, hopefully there's some type of Q&A and stuff, because I got a lot of questions for them, and they don't answer my emails very often. So, so every once in a while they do. I get that they probably get a lot of emails. But you say probably fancy dial covers, maybe, but it doesn't. But usually those type of things, the name of them is like deluxe or cosmetic or something like that. And this one just sounded very plain. So I don't know. Like I've speculated that I think to maybe reduce cost or something like that, or to reduce weight and shipping and stuff, that they might start going with ships that don't come with that don't come with command dials. I mean, that's just something you need to buy, because let's face it, anybody who's been playing Armada as long as I have, or even half as long, has way too many dials. I don't know. So anyway, so if you're joining in late, we've talked about X-Wing. There's no announcement for X-Wing currently planned for the in-flight brief at Gen Con, which means it's probably going to be a special X-Wing event before or after Gen Con. We're talking about Armada right now because my prediction is that Armada is going to be their flagship piece for Gen Con, and they didn't want X-Wing to kind of overlap with Armada and take too much hype away. So they're saying, hey, X-Wing, you're going to have your own day. Look, X-Wing's a big game for Fantasy Flight Games, so I don't think that they'd just sweep it under the rug and forget about it. But again, it's kind of forgotten about it for a while. So there could be more. I mean, honestly, I don't know. It might be something on the business side of the house. What else? So what do I think is going to come? I think we're going to see more than just the 6 expansions that we kind of know that are up for distributor pre-order right now. Because there's got to be like a couple extra ships in that wave, or like a wave 0 or wave 1 to kind of launch with the launch wave. My guess is like, if the Republic, we know that there should be the carrier ship, that landing ship, now the name, the Acclamator, and then there should also be I believe the Jedi, the Consular class cruiser, because that was in some of the art that was leaked at Gamma. And so that's interesting. So I would expect to see those ships, if not in the starter, then perhaps very soon. Possibly. Separatists, honestly, we haven't seen any ship art yet for Separatists, so it could be any of the their cruisers. I mean, they've got a couple. I think we'll see a Providence as maybe an expansion or something like that. I think we'll see. When is the in-flight brief? Good question. That is going to be, I believe, the last Thursday in July. If you go to fantasyflightgames.com right now, you're going to see the announcement. It's going to be like that Thursday night, I think at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. No points and no new announcements at Gen Con for X-Wing. Laughs to Armada. Yeah. So I think that's what it is. I think they're allotting their time more to Armada, but there is also going to be Legion announcements too. And that's something else I want to talk about. So how many of you are Legion players? In addition to other things as well, because we're going to talk about the Legion stuff too. But let me finish up on Armada, and then we'll kind of wrap around. So I do think we're going to get Armada. I think we're definitely going to get a Venator. You kind of have to do a Venator, but I think a Venator will be a standalone expansion, kind of like the Imperial Star Destroyer was. We got some Legion players. We got lots of Legion players in the house. What's going on, Legion players? I'm bumping things. So that's cool. I think we are going to see. So I think we're going to see a Venator as like maybe wave 1, because I think we'll get a look at that first extra wave coming for Armada Clone Wars. Now, Steve Horvath back at Gamma last year, I think it was technically the beginning of this year, did say that like Armada Wave 1 was slated for like first quarter 2021. And yeah, so like there's more stuff beyond just this first wave of Armada in the pipe, and apparently it's pretty far along in production. So I think we'll see a little bit more than just the starters. I think we'll see at least one ship expansion per faction. Hopefully it's not exactly the same ship that comes in that ship starter, right? But we're gonna have to see. So I think that's kind of, I don't think they'll kind of spoil too much stuff, but there might be a little bit of, and watch very closely, watch their stream, and I might restream it. I don't know if there's any problem with that. I've done that before, because they're only going to do it on Twitch. It'll be up on YouTube after the fact, but I might want to run a live stream of it and then as soon as it's over, then like talk about it and analyze and break down and talk about all of that stuff. So I'm curious if you guys would be interested in something like that, because not everybody prefers one, or some people. I know, at least for me, like I used to not have access to Twitch because like I'd be like I would watch a lot of times from work, and for a long time Twitch was banned and YouTube wasn't, so I was just like, hey, I prefer this because I can actually use it. Anyway, so let's see, what else do we got? Okay, Legion. So let's talk about Legion now, because we talked about X-Wing, we talked about Armada, we're gonna talk about Legion. The only two things that are unspoiled right now are Anakin and Darth Maul, and Darth Maul's little Sith probe droid. Now, I've already done videos talking about those. They're already publicly available, that you can see what the name of the expansion is. It's Anakin Skywalker Commander, Darth Maul Operative. They're probably going to definitely show those. And of course, that's going to be exciting, because Darth Maul, I can't wait to see that sculpt, because I'm sure they're going to have a painted version and he's going to look awesome. And so I can't wait to see, like, my real thing is like, and I think a lot of people are really curious about like just like stats and units and expansions, but I'm curious about the pose. Like, I want to see how they're going to have Darth Maul posed. But we do know that there's more stuff other than that, because Anakin and Maul aren't right next to each other in product number. So there's other stuff planned. So what else is going to come in that wave is very exciting. It might be an all lightsaber wielder wave. That is possible, right? Because then, and a lot of people, some of you guys are saying Ahsoka. We definitely want Ahsoka. I want multiple versions of Ahsoka too. Here's the cool thing about Ahsoka. They can give Ahsoka, like they can do a lot of different versions. They can do, an operative and commander, like a young version and teenage version for the clones. But they can also do grown-up Ahsoka for the rebels, right? And she would probably be commander. I think she would definitely be a commander for the rebels. So that's exciting, because Fulcrum, and that would be her name. Like, she's Fulcrum Ahsoka would be a commander, I think. But they could do operative as like maybe the young Ahsoka when she was just a little kid and like learning her way. And then teenage like season 7 version of Ahsoka maybe as a commander for the Republic. But each version of Ahsoka could have different command cards. So you could have like an Ahsoka army you could have like grown up Ahsoka on the Rebels using command cards from like kid Ahsoka. You might really have some tough choices to make when deciding how to do Ahsoka, right? Just theorizing about how many different types they could do. If they did 3 different versions of a character, you'd have a lot of really, really cool cards to talk about. It's just starting to sound like an episode of Double Critical. So if you guys aren't familiar, I have a podcast called Double Critical Podcast, and we talk. Me and Sean, we just we kind of wish list and theory craft and talk about. We talk about all things that could potentially happen. You hate, Mark, you hate my podcast? I don't know what you hate. Well, sorry, man. I hope you don't hate my podcast. I mean, we're always trying to do better, but we don't have that many numbers. Not that many people listen to it, but I think it's fun. It's good stuff because it's not scripted. It's pretty candid. Let's see. They should make Bosk as a playable with the Separatists. Well, they certainly can do that. There were certainly a lot of bounty hunters available for Separatists. So I think all of that stuff is very, very possible. I'm curious to see kind of what the future holds for Legion. So if they do lightsaber wielders for the rest of this wave with Anakin and Maul, I would be surprised if we didn't get like Kanan or Ezra, or maybe even both, and an Inquisitor. I don't know if it'll be the Grand Inquisitor, but I wouldn't mind seeing some Inquisitor. I think the way you would do Inquisitors too is I think the Grand Inquisitor would be a commander, but I think the other Inquisitors could easily just be operatives, like Seventh Sister, Fifth Brother, or they could do some of the characters from the games. Like there's a lot more Inquisitors and Jedi for Empire and Rebels, respectively, that give the whole game a lot more lightsaber-wielding heroes. And I think that's really cool. So I'm hoping we get more of a Force-centric based, like lightsaber-wielding character-based type of wave. And this is going to be one of the next double criticals, is we're going to kind of explore how that could work with the game a little bit more, because from a certain point of view, I'll give you a little teaser. From a certain point of view, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, the lightsaber wielding characters are very similar, and like they all have like a lot of stuff in common, right? Like pierce on their weapons, and usually either surge to crit or some type of critical, or deflect, or master of the force, or jump, and things like that. There's so many things that they all have in common. But then you look at Palpatine, who's also a Force user. but he's totally different, right? And so will you, at a certain point, will you start making certain lightsaber wielding characters that function totally different than your initial launch tier lightsaber? And so that's kind of one of the things we're going to talk about, I think, in the next Double Critical. So, yeah, that'd be cool. All right, so let's see. We got, Keegan has a question here. How would you feel about an Inquisitor set similar to Imperial Specialists with several options for commander and operatives to add? No, like that would be cool. My only problem with doing that is that you drain the supply of available characters if you do that. Unless, of course, you're just making them generic Inquisitors, then that's fine. If they're all generic Inquisitors, then that's fine. But you have, I want to say, like 5 named Inquisitors right now from Star Wars Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order that you can pull from. But then that's kind of it, right? Well, plus the Grand Inquisitor. Because you're really running really shy at that point. Whereas we have a lot, we've got a decent number of Rebel characters too. We've got Kanan. Because if you put all of the Inquisitors in one bundle, then you need counterparts for Kanan, Ezra, a Ser, who was well, hold on. Let's go back to Jedi Fallen Order. You've got Cal Kestis, and then Ser, who is also a Jedi. So those are all Force users that you can run. Who else in the Rebels? Ahsoka, right? And so you're presumably we're going to see more. We'll probably see grown-up Ezra once they ever do that. So like my problem is that's just, and then Jedi Fallen Order has another game coming out too. So there's going to be characters there. So I don't want to see all of the Inquisitors get jumped into one bundle unless they are generics. Okay. All right. So yes. So basically, I also think there's some more things for Legion that they might drop at Gen Con. And part of that is I think we might see an AT-AT or other huge things like a LAT. I think those are possible because if we go really far back to when Andrew Navarro was still around and he did that Ask Me Anything, that was something that was talked, and he didn't say AA or AT-AT or AT-AT specifically. He did talk about, though, that they would like to do certain things that might be a little bit too big for Legion, and if so, they might have to come up with a smaller scale and then scale all of the really big things down to that smaller scale. If that is the case, I would expect a LAT, I would expect an ATTE, I would expect maybe a Juggernaut, definitely an AT-AT. I think there's room in the game for them to do really tremendously big things like that, and it wouldn't be as hard as doing something like the Super Star Destroyer for Armada because you don't have to sell them pre-built and pre-painted. You can have them on sprues, so it can fit into a smaller box, and then maybe it's possible. Now, granted, it'd still be a big box for an AT-AT, but if they were selling an AT-AT pre-built, pre-painted in Legion scale, the box would be this big, and it'd be like a $500 box. But now they can probably get it into like it might be a $100 purchase, all right? Maybe $140 or something like that. But still, like for as big as it will be, that's arguably and as beautiful as it will likely be once painted. That's an awesome price, compared to equivalents from other games and stuff like that. All right, so I think that's most of the big stuff I wanted to talk about. Again, if I missed your questions or whatever, we're going to go for probably about 10 or 15 more minutes. If you want to drop any super chats or whatever, I'll definitely those show up in a big bright color, so I won't miss those. And also that helps support the channel too. So I do appreciate you guys that have been buying merch, and there's been a couple of you guys have been buying the t-shirts and the face masks that they showed kind of down below, those gator necks, and so I really appreciate that. It definitely helps. This times have been kind of rough lately, so all of that support is greatly appreciated. All right. The much more. Okay, so what else do I think they're going to do? Okay, so if you guys are joining me now, we talked about X-Wing. There's not going to be any X-Wing, or at least as of right now, they seemingly deliberately omitted X-Wing from what's being talked about at the in-flight brief, and so that's surprising. Second thing is we talked about Armada, Clone Wars, and I think that's going to be their big flagship. Whoa, Andrew Tucker, what's going on, Andrew Tucker? Thank you for the super chat. I definitely appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting the channel. Andrew asks, "Are you hyped for Maul?" Man, am I hyped for Maul? I'm really hyped. I've only got half of the saber right here. I am so hyped for Maul, dude. I am gonna when they announce Maul, I'm gonna probably do my next video in character. I did a Maul video a long time ago. I need to put new batteries in here, so it's not as bright as it once was. I am very much hyped for Maul. He's gonna be hard to paint to get those tattoos just right. So that is that's gonna be fun. Okay. So all right. So Armada Clone Wars, I think it's gonna be their flagship title since they don't have to dedicate that much floor space to a convention that's all digital. It's the best time for them to show off a big game like Armada. So, or at least, you know, I mean, they're not really gonna be able to show it off, but it's the best time for them to try and do stuff with it. Granted, they could. I said they could start doing it on the 3x3 playmats, and that'd be fine. So number 2, then we also talked about Legion. Again, Maul and Anakin are presumably going to be officially announced this time, and I imagine whatever else is coming with their wave. In the past, I think waves were 6 expansions, but with Clone Wars now, I think we might see more. We might even see 8 things totally revealed. So in addition to Maul and Anakin, there might be 6 more things that we haven't seen yet that kind of show up. That's a possibility. Or it could be that Maul and Anakin were like at the end of another wave, but there's still a missing product number in between Maul and Anakin. So I think there's definitely more that just hasn't been leaked to distributors yet. So I'm really excited to see because I have a lot of fun with Legion, and I can't wait to see what is coming next. There's certainly a lot of things that I want to see. I really think they might talk about sub-factions. Sub-factions could definitely be a thing. Shock Troopers, a lot of the stuff from the video games, I think we're probably not going to see just yet. I think we'll start seeing that stuff next year. I think like Shock Troopers, Cal Kestis, because it takes a certain number of time before it comes out for them to kind of get this info from Lucasfilm and it's like to design it, have it printed and then kind of announce. So I think like the fact that we just got Iden Versio and Battlefront had been out for a long time, I think it's going to be a little bit longer until we get stuff from Jedi Fallen Order. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't love to see those. That would be really cool. But yeah, I definitely want to see more Jedi. I can't wait until we get more of the Old Republic, more of the Jedi Council. Ventress would be awesome. Speaking of Ventress too, I think the Asajj Ventress Black Series lightsaber is coming out in a week or so. So stay tuned, stay subscribed because in addition to gaming stuff, I do a lot of Star Wars stuff. You see, like somebody pointed out the helmets. All right, with I'm adjusting the camera a little bit. I also review the merch also that comes out for Star Wars, and so I do a lot of these reviews as well. So I'm kind of curious how the Asajj Ventress will look. So that's gonna be fun because I believe you can equip them together, but I don't know if I want to get 2 because how many times did Asajj Ventress ever use her 2 sabers as like a staff? I don't know. And that's actually an interesting question for if and when they ever do Asajj Ventress. Will she have like a staff function, or will she? Because she'll probably be. I know she'll be holding. Whoa, we got a big super chat from Andrew Tucker. What's going on, man? Thank you, dude. I love you. $4.90. Wow, thanks. Do you think that we could get some Old Republic faction stuff? Okay, so that's actually a really interesting question. I'm going to talk about that for a little while. Let's talk about the Old Republic. I don't think we'll get that just yet because there's still a lot of Clone Wars. Oh, and Paladin Seas with a super chat too. All right, I'm going to come back to that. Paladin Seas asks, need operative Ion or Delta Squad let FFG know? No, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. There's a lot more operatives that I would love to see. But also, going off of that, I feel like we need to get more heroes in the game so we can get like a hero mode. And my camera is about to fall. Hold on. All right, I'm going to fix this and I'm coming right back. All right, now I'm crooked. All right, we can fix it. It's going to break. Nope, we fixed it. Okay, so, all right, so I want to go back to Andrew's question here. Do we think we can get some more Old Republic faction stuff? I definitely think we can. I don't think it's going to be for a little while, though, because there's a couple of things that are kind of in the pipe that they've hinted at. One is sub-factions, and that can pave the way for new factions. But with what Armada is doing right now, with the single faction starters, that's what Legion needs to do before we can get that. Single faction starters. A one box that you can get that's going to have, your starter army, but like a single entry point. Because the problem is not every faction needs to have a perfect balanced asymmetric faction to fit in a $100 starter. You should have like a $50 starter that has your commander, 2 core and 1 support, and then your starter cards, your dice, your movement tools, the things you need to play the game. Once they get to that point, and that may be around the time that they start doing sub-factions. I don't really know how sub-factions are going to work, if there's just going to be certain units that get a bonus if you're using them all as a sub-faction, but they're still normally under a regular faction, or if it's going to be a whole separate faction altogether that's just associated with, you know, another faction. I don't know how they're going to do that. But once they come out, once we cross over the bridge of sub-factions, that's going to pave its way into new factions. The other thing is they've already said there will be more Mandalorians, right? More stuff from The Mandalorian is absolutely coming, but it's far off. And I think when they start doing Mandalorian stuff, that's when the game is going to be having more factions. Whoa, we got a super chat from Liam. So hopefully that answers your question for Andrew. It's going to be probably at least 2 years out before we can get into that point. And then at that point, it would probably be a good time for them to start introducing new factions. Huts, Cartel would also be good. Mandalorians would be a great one. But then there's room for old Republic stuff as well. Okay, so let's get to Liam's question. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Liam. That is awesome. Thank you so much, dude. I definitely appreciate the support. Hoping for old Ben Kenobi. Oh, yeah. As a rebel operative and the Grand Inquisitor as an Empire commander in Legion. Yeah, so old Ben Kenobi would be really exciting. Now, my biggest... let's talk about old Ben Kenobi for a minute. Old Ben Kenobi, if they do him, I wonder what they're going to call him. And here's why. If he is called Obi-Wan Kenobi, then he gains access to all of Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Republic's command cards. Not that that's game-breaking, because we've seen that already with the operative versions of Vader and the commander version of Vader, and same thing with Luke. Not that that's game-breaking, but they'd have to take that into account when designing him, right? And so that could be really interesting. As a matter of fact, he could even come in as a buff to the Kenobi who we already know, right? Because now General Kenobi could have access to like old Ben Kenobi stuff. But if they don't want him to have access to those cards, they get around it by just naming him Ben Kenobi. I don't like that though, because we know it's the same person. So I would rather them just take into account he's going to have access to these other command cards and balance him accordingly. You know, I mean, he's an operative, and I imagine he'd be an operative that's a little bit more focused on sneaking around the battlefield and getting objectives, and some kind of suicide-based mechanic, right? Like some kind of like, if you kill me, I'm going to get the player's going to get a victory point, something like that. Because that's kind of how he works in a lot of other games. He's got a mechanic like that in Star Wars Rebellion for even, you know, if he dies, then you gain a point. Like it's awesome. All right, so that's a typo negative sticker in the back there. Yes, it's actually a type O positive sticker. It's a little bit of a joke. I found it at Star Wars Celebration, and they're all smiling, but it's like photoshopped smiles. It's really funny. I love typo negative. Favorite band of all-time favorite band. Let's see. First time poster, long time viewer. You have convinced me to start Legion and ordered the original. Oh, awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm glad. Andrew with another super chat. Wow. Thank you, Andrew, dude. That's awesome. Do you think we could have Halo Legion? Halo has a smaller vibe. Oh, okay. So I don't think we could have a Halo. Halo has a smaller vibe as Star Wars and has few viable factions. Well, the problem with something like Halo Legion is that Fantasy Flight doesn't have the license to Halo stuff. I know there was a Halo ship-based game a while back, Halo Fleets. So that's certainly an option, but the problem is it's licensing, right? Now, one thing that could happen is I don't know who has the license to be able to make Halo products right now. Because Halo, I think they have there's a new Halo game coming out, like Infinite, I believe. I don't do a lot with Halo, so I apologize if I don't know as much. But maybe when this new game comes out, Hasbro, I hear Hasbro, okay. Well, Hasbro is not the type of company to make a game like Legion, so that license may go, you know, because they could differentiate between Halo board games and Halo miniatures. So if somebody like Privateer Press or Games Workshop or somebody gets the rights to Halo, one thing that could happen is they could rent or lease the combat engine from Legion, and then basically make Halo Legion. They would have to call it something else because that's kind of what happened with Star Trek Attack Wing. They basically bought the rights to use X-Wing's flight path system and then just pasted Star Trek because they had the license to Star Trek. And so something like that could happen. It's not always the best thing because then people, like, the cool thing about if they did something like that is you could have then versus battles, right? So like that's a fun thing where you could kind of take your Halo, like, you know, your Halo fleet versus your stormtroopers or something like that. But the problem there is, like, you'd almost be better off like trying to go to like the Legion Discord and asking the homebrew community to come up with some Halo stuff, because then you could actually, you know, try and like homebrew it. If you use like somebody mentioned Mega Blocks, I know they've got the Halo stuff, so then you could like kind of make your own army or even 3D print some stuff and just kind of do a homebrew version of it. That's definitely a possibility. All right, guys. So let's recap. Let's see, because I'm running out of steam here, and it is also summertime in Florida, and I'm in my garage. You can't see it right now. Maybe you can, but I am sweating, so I'm gonna have to jump in the shower. I'm glad that the live stream doesn't carry smell because, woo, that's me. I stink right now. I stink. But yeah, I know I saw the stuff at work. I haven't done it. I came home and kind of like I got a live stream. I look drenched. Yeah, the bright lights too kind of make me look a little shinier. What's up, JJ? Hey man, your stuff is in the mail. JJ was won one of my recent giveaways on Patreon too. So I just want to let you know your stuff is in the mail, bro. Okay, so let's see. Well, let's recap. So X-Wing has nothing coming at Gen Con. Smell-o-vision. I do think it's going to be before. I think it'll be maybe early to mid-July. They won't want it like right before. Whoa, we got another super chat from Liam. Dude, thank you. Liam is hoping for the Mandator in the Republic or Armada. Oh, man. This, the Mandator. So now I don't know how this is a really good question. Well, it's not really quite, you're just hoping for it. But yeah, I would love to see that too. There's a couple of reasons. First off, it's huge, right? The Mandator's really, really big. I don't really know exactly how canon the Mandator, and it's, so you guys who don't know, right, let's talk about the Mandator just a little bit. Now, the YouTube channel Eckhart's Ladder talks about this type of stuff a lot. Awesome channel, by the way. If you're a fleet junkie, Eckhart's Ladder is really awesome. A great place to, but Mel Miniatures has the Bellator, right? And some people were asking me about Mel Miniatures. The Bellator was actually, I think, a Mandator 3 or something like that. The Mandator 4 was the Dreadnought that we saw in Episode 8, The Last Jedi, that big Dreadnought. So Mandators are Dreadnoughts, basically. They're really big ships. And I know, at least in Legends, the Mandator was a thing that the Republic had kind of done towards the end of the war. They had built Dreadnoughts. We never got to see them in like the Clone Wars, though, I don't believe. I think they were in like comics or some of the Legends books, but I don't know what their official canon status is right now. I hope they're still canon. I hope the Mandator 4 that we saw in Last Jedi is enough to get a Mandator 1 at least into Armada Clone Wars for the Republic for a number of reasons. First off, it'd be big and it'd be beautiful, so that's awesome. It'd be a huge ship that's available to that faction. But what else is really, really cool? Just because it isn't canon doesn't mean it can't be in there. Yeah, but they really do kind of lean towards more what is canon. Because there's only the bigger thing is there's only so many canon ships you can give the Republic right now. You know, or Clone Wars in general. Because it's like, they're not making any more new Clone Wars. Like, I mean, that we know of. You know, most of the battles have been cataloged. Most of the fleets have been cataloged. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's a finite sum. Like, what's there is there. Now, the Mandator is one of those things that could be there. And so I really hope they do a Mandator. I really hope they do. Wow. Great question. Great question. Okay, I'm running out of breath. I've talked for almost an hour. Well, it's fun. No, it's really cool because we're getting back to where there's going to be news. So I was recapping. X-Wing has no presence, apparently, at the Gen Con in-flight brief that FFG is going to do. They're going to be streaming it on their Twitch. I'll probably live stream it unless, you know, for some reason they say, hey, don't do that. But can't imagine why they wouldn't want me to, talk about their stuff. But I'll be coming to you. We'll be talking about it. I'll probably come to you live and then do an official breakdown like the next day. So I look for a lot of footage from me at the end of July and in the beginning of August through Gen Con Online. That's going to be exciting. Let's see. And so Armada, we got the Clone Wars coming. I think we're going to see more than just the stuff I've talked about. I think we're going to see the first ship expansions also for Clone Wars, and possibly a hint at that first extra wave that's coming next year. That's cool. I would really, 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 really be impressed if, in addition to all the Clone Wars stuff, they also spoil something for the Rebels and the Empire also. Not to say, I mean, I fully recognize that Clone Wars new factions are going to have a long way to go to get caught up, but not as far as X-Wing, right? Like, you don't have 14, different ships, for one faction. How many do we have? I think like 6 or 7. I don't know. Hey Belgium, how's it going? I think we're gonna get I think Armada's gonna be like the centerpiece of the show. I think it's what they're gonna close on. I think it's gonna be really exciting. I don't think there's gonna be some new stuff announced. Legion, I think we're gonna get some, hopefully some more lightsaber wielders for Legion in addition to Maul and Anakin. But I think we're gonna see one of the things that is on the distributor pre-order thing is a Twilight Imperium title. Prophet of Kings or Prophecy of Kings, I think it's called. But it doesn't say 4th edition. It just says Twilight Imperium Prophecy of Kings. So that's either an expansion to TI4 or it's an all-new game in the Twilight Imperium universe. I think it's an all-new game because there was supposedly at, what was the last one in Europe? What's the big, where they do the Spiel des Jahres and at Essen. At Essen, there were some photos kind of leaked out of there that there was a new Twilight Imperium roll and write that they asked people not to photograph, but some people photographed. So that's probably what this new Twilight Imperium. It's probably that roll and write game. Now, what is a roll and write? It's a good question because I don't play roll and writes, so I really don't know exactly. But what I gather, it does it lends itself to a little bit of how Yahtzee was. You roll your dice and record your results. So a game kind of like that. What do you think about Pong Krell? Another super chat from Andrew Tucker. Thanks, man. Thank you so much, buddy. What do I think about Pong Krell? I think Pong Krell would be an amazing lightsaber user to give to the Separatists. I think he would be a great Separatist person to have incognito. Kind of like how K2SO. That's the closest, the easiest way right now I can kind of fit that traitor mechanic in. But Pong Krell, oh man, he might be one of the strongest lightsaber wielders as far as just I don't know if he'd be exceptionally strong with the Force, but as far as his melee prowess, what? His lightsabers were thick, man. They were like pool noodles. He had giant pool noodles, man. He was like the sound effect when he swung those was like a all new sound effect. It was thick. Like Kim Kardashian thick. So he really, really, I think Pong Krell would be super fun to have in this game. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's see. Other thing, I think there's another Star Wars game coming. I can't remember where I heard about, rumors of it or whatever, but I think it's ever since Destiny went away, and then the Star Wars LCG kind of went away. I feel like I'm gonna guess that with the success of Marvel Champions, we're going to see a Star Wars game kind of like that, where it's, I guess, technically an LCG, but it's like a co-op. I think we'll see a cooperative Star Wars game get announced. That's my prediction. I'm predicting it right here and now. With a disclaimer, I don't know what's coming. I'm not a play tester. I used to be a long time ago. Not anymore. Let's see. Star Wars has had a card game. Star Wars has always had a card game. Yeah, there could be I think they very well may introduce a Star Wars card game. So that would be pretty cool. Cad Bane is coming for sure. He's exciting. I'm actually working on a Cad Bane build video that'll go live a little later this week. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to wind it down. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will actually be live again later today on the Legion Academy. If you're not familiar with Legion Academy on Facebook, I'll be joining them to talk a little bit about LVO, the Las Vegas Open, which may or may not happen, but we're hoping it does, because that'd be a really cool tournament. By the way, if you're not familiar, go to LasVegasOpen.net and buy your tickets. If you're thinking about going to Las Vegas next January, I think it's the last weekend of January 2021, hopefully we'll be able to travel and do stuff by then, but I don't know. But you can always buy a ticket and then cancel your reservation and try and get a refund. I don't know how refunds are going to work with that. That's actually a good question for tonight's live stream. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got. I will talk to you later. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons as well. You guys are awesome. And I will talk to you later. Thank you. Have a great day.